A big man, all golden in color, more like some kind of deity, stood over the people. His body was practically in the clouds. He shouted to Jang Daelan that he was finished. He also told the guy to give him the Taiji Soul Stone and then maybe he would let him live. Jang was on his knees and trying to catch his breath after the fight. A peculiar blue flower was burning in his forehead. The guy laughed because he knew that he would not be left alive. He also added that such pathetic people, who can only stab in the back like rats, will not be able to do so. The guy touched the flower burning with blue light in his forehead and said that it was a soul stone that his mentor had given him. After that, he added that, among other things, this stone is something that can help a guy become a god. The guy gathered his strength into a fist and flew away towards the big golden god. Other people watching this asked Jang Daelan about what he was going to do. In response to this, the guy said that if he, Jang Daelan, was too weak and saw a more worthy person in front of him, he would have handed him the soul stone with his own hands. But the man the guy was addressing dared to use the name Xian in order to lure Jang into a trap. The other guys shouted to Jang that he was out of his mind, because he was burning his soul. The other man laughed and said that the guy was really finished. The three guys should have stopped Jang sooner and prevented him from making a breakthrough. Several glowing ropes grabbed Jang's legs and arms and now he could not move. One of the guys laughed and said that now you just have to wait until Jang burns his soul to the ground and then the soul stone will belong to them. Jang thought that it looks like he won't be able to return to his mentor, but he will be able to destroy all these bad guys and the mentor's name will not be defamed. The guy opened a passage to the abode of the dead and the souls of all those who are touched will be destroyed and will not be able to be reborn. All of Jang's enemies decided to flee as soon as possible, but they were inevitably sucked in. In this scenario, Jang Daelan himself will not be able to survive, but he does not mind dying if his enemies follow him. Jang has been free in his decisions and actions all his life, so no one can even admit the thought of controlling him. After that, everyone was sucked into the abyss. The guy, dying, thought that it would be great if Xian really called him to this place. Suddenly, a pink-haired girl appeared in front of him. This was Xian. She was holding some kind of sphere in her hands and threw it to the guy. The guy picked up the sphere and said that Xian really sacrificed a part of her soul to summon the soul stone. The girl was glad that she had made it in time. Jang asked her about why she was still here. She needed to leave soon. The girl replied to the guy that he had discovered the abode of the dead, and if he did not use the soul stone, then his true soul would dissolve. The guy has worked so hard to gain the favor of the deity, and is now finally able to achieve immortality and become a god. After that, the girl sacrificed herself in order to save the guy. Jang was born again as a small child. He was in the hands of some man, apparently one of the subjects. The woman who gave birth asked if everything was alright with the boy. In response to this, the man said that his mistress should not worry, because the young master is fine. He also added that such a powerful energy envelops him, which he sometimes did not feel before. Jang couldn't figure out how he got into this body. He looked at his hand and saw a piece of the Taiji Soul Stone on it. He realized that he had been reborn with him. Thus, Xian and his other half had to be reborn in this world as well. The guy didn't think that he didn't know where to look for her. The girl asked to look at her child. The man said that the young gentleman was very calm, but at the same time very enthusiastic. The girl took the child in her arms and said that she felt powerful fluctuations of magic. The guy looked at the woman and realized that it was his mother and she was not human, since her ears were similar to the ears of elves. Jang was also surprised that her breathing was very weak, as if she was dying. At that moment, the lady lost consciousness. Jang realized that his mother's vital energy was running out. After that, Jang directed some of his energy towards his mother. He thought about the fact that his mana now is only remnants from a past life. It will dissipate very soon. He decided to use it to prolong his mother's life. The guy also thought that in the future, he would cultivate and be able to rid the woman of this disease completely. At that moment, the girl's husband flew into the room. He was very concerned about her well-being. The man who delivered the baby began to say that the lady was just a little sick. The girl turned to her husband and said that he was one of the 4 great generals of the Holy Land, as well as the Holy Sword, and panicked just like a child. The girl assured the man that she was fine. Yajin looked at the man and was surprised that this was his father, the same man who forced his mother to give birth to 5 children almost without a break. The second older man, who entered the room with the girl's husband, addressed her by the name of Xiaoyi and thanked her for working so hard to replenish the dragon's blood in their family. He He said it was really amazing. The girl in response thanked her father for his kindness. The girl told her husband that her son is physically a little less well-built compared to their other children, and she is afraid that he will not be able to become an outstanding commander. But he has very powerful mana. Perhaps he will become a great wizard in the future. Everyone standing in the room was surprised. They couldn't believe that a magician was born in the dragon's blood family, and the boy must be very talented. The father of the family said that the family manages the strongest legions that have been successfully guarding the borders for many years, the army of the underground dragon, and the army of the griffin. Although they have the reputation of being invincible, they can only rely on strategy and basic skills. If they have a powerful magician on their side, then the kingdom will be more protected. The man also added that the 5 great clans have been successfully cultivating wizards for the past few years, and he can't help but say that he didn't care. Now that their family has a wizard, none of them will dare to laugh at them. The girl turned to her father and told him not to worry, since her son's mana is more powerful than anyone in the elf clan. The girl also added that she is sure that her son will be the strongest magician in the kingdom. Hearing this, the guy thought that great hopes were pinned on him, and therefore, he would not hesitate. The guy thought that he was going to cultivate diligently. Since he didn't die from a collision with the abode of the dead, he should return. In this world, there is no concept of cultivation as such. Everything here is based on magic and martial arts, the basis of which is mana and the spirit of struggle, respectively. Moreover, many races coexist in this world. For example, elves, dwarves, humans, Vikings, all of them are fighting among themselves. Among them, humans are the strongest and predominant species. At the moment, the main character is in the Kingdom of the Storm, which is divided into 39 provinces. Although the Kingdom of the Storm occupies a fairly decent territory and its inhabitants do not seem to know any worries, in fact, it is surrounded by enemies on all sides. The Kingdom of Kurt in the east, the Kingdom of the Sand Robbers in the west, Vana in the south, as well as the Alliance of the 4 Aristocrats in the north, all of them are hostile towards the Kingdom of Storm. This is the information that the main character managed to collect during the 100 days that he was in this place, and it is absolutely useless for him. That's what worries him more, so it's the numerous women and nurses who constantly touch him. The father laughed at the fact that his boy is good enough because he is still small and already surrounded by female attention. One of the girls spoke up and said that the reception in honor of the anniversary of the young gentleman would be simply incredible. She shared that she had heard that His Grace Sars himself would baptize the baby. The girl asked if she could be honored to find out what name her master would be baptized with. The father replied that His Eminence had learned about the power of his child's mana, and therefore wanted to baptize him personally. And as for the name, the man said that a little later he would announce it to everyone. The girl told her son that his father would give him a wonderful name that would not yield to the names of his older brothers. The girl put her son in the cradle and said that everything would start soon, and he just needed to wait a little. The main character thought that finally there is peace and quiet around him and now he can practice Tai Chi. The guy thought that even if they are not familiar with the Tao practices in this world, but the spiritual energy is quite concentrated. The guy also discovered that the Taoist spiritual Kai and the energies of this world are quite similar. In this world, the cultivation process will be 5 times faster than in the previous life. At this rate, the guy will be quite capable by the age of 20. Suddenly the guy heard a voice. He said that this is the same child who has incredible mana, and that he is very beautiful. The guy decided to see who decided to interrupt him this time. She was a beautiful young girl. She took the child in her arms and began to look at him. She said that the child does not look at all like his stern father, but is as beautiful as Elijah. The girl called the guy her nephew, and then he realized that the queen was his aunt. The king was standing nearby. He said that the child is really very beautiful, but he thinks that the boy should be as strong as Commander Dar. However, the king added that the boy has such an incredible gift, he shows hope. The king said that when the boy becomes an outstanding magician, then physical strength will not be so important. The man looked at the king and realized that the girl, or rather his aunt, had found an unsuitable match for herself. The king turned to the boy's mother and thanked her for another such talented child, because now the blood of the princess of the elven clan Elijah will continue to flow in the outstanding people of his kingdom. The boy's mother bowed and said that it was an honor for the elven clan. At that moment, a girl and a candle appeared in the hall. The girl turned to the king and said that His Grace Sars from the Church of Light had already arrived and the ceremony would begin soon. The queen turned to the princess of the Shixin family and said that as a concubine, she had no right to enter the Epiphany parade ground. In response, the priest said that the princess was in this place as his assistant, so he asked His Majesty not to interfere. The main character looked at the priest and thought that probably this SARS relies on his name and influence in the Church of Light, since he allows himself to behave like this. The guy thought about the fact that even in this case, he has no right to question the authority of the queen herself. The princess turned to Her Majesty and asked her to hand over the baby to her. The guy thought that this woman is an asshole and does not dare to look down on his family so much. He thought that he would teach her a good lesson in the future. The girl took the child in her arms and said that next she herself. Suddenly she felt some kind of smell. Turning around she found that the baby was emptying right on her dress. The guy thought that even if he can't do anything to Sarsu, but who said that he can't teach a lesson to an arrogant princess? The princess began to scream. In response to this, the king said that it was not allowed to shout in this place and she also could not continue the ceremony in this form. So he asked the girl to leave this place. The priest took the baby in his arms and said that he was really interesting, since he treats people from the Shixing family at such a young age. But he also said that the boy's mana is really unique and powerful, but as if it's not like that, so he will keep an eye on him. The boy was surprised that the priest noticed this difference. He thought that even his mother could not understand that his mana is something other than the energy of the Tao. But this priest could immediately. The guy thought that as soon as this becomes apparent, God knows what can happen, not to mention that his family is clearly at odds with the Shixing family. The guy thought that, apparently, he needed to be more careful with this. After that, the rite of baptism took place. The priest handed the child into the hands of the father and said that the ceremony was over. He turned to General Dar and told him to give his son a name. The man said that this name would strengthen their bloodline. From now on, this child will be called Clay Longsu. 3 years later, the boy was running around the palace. Mom scolded him. She said that the royal palace is not a place for games and Auntie is already waiting for him. In response to this, the boy told his mother to let him run, because today is his birthday and aunts will not mind. In response, the girl said that her child is a pest. If the father finds out about it, then his dad will not be lucky. The boy hid behind the bushes and thought that if there is such a choice, then for the sake of freedom it is not a pity to be a little beaten. Suddenly the boy heard some screams and crying. Some girls were crying and asking them to forgive them. In response, a voice laughed and said that these princess fools are already letting out snot. Another voice replied that these are not princesses, but simple dirty-blooded girls who were born a servant. The guy heard it and followed the sound. Someone kept shouting at the girls and saying that the more he looks at them, the uglier they seem and even the rat in the palace is better than them. After that, the voice asked about how these girls dare to stay here at all. That voice turned out to be a boy. He said that if the shelter is dirty and they want him to let him go, then let them eat the earth. And then they have to say that they thank the great fifth princess for such a generous treat and that they are his faithful servants. The guy added that if the girls didn't do it, he would just beat them to death. At that moment Clay appeared. He asked about what was going on. The guy said they don't have to bully people and told them to get lost until he gave the guys a hard time. In response to this, the prince said that it was not the child of the Dracosh family who did it. Clay shouted that he wouldn't let him hurt the girls. One of the subordinates whispered to the fifth prince not to forget that this scum has mana. In response to this, the prince said that this child is only 3 years old, and it would be a great achievement if he could at least lift a pebble with his mana. The prince shouted at the boy and said that just because his family had been serving his family for so long, he would not touch him. If the boy understood what position he was in, then he had better get out of here. Suddenly the prince discovered that the boy was no longer in front of him and could not understand where he was. It turned out that he had already helped the girls get up and told them not to be afraid. At that moment, the prince grabbed Clay by the clothes and began to shake him. He shouted at him and said that he did not dare to ignore him and this incredible arrogance. With the words that the prince would teach him a good lesson, he also brought the boy back to Earth. However, he managed to get up easily and said that it was, but he does not miss training for nothing. In response, the prince shouted that even if the queen likes Clay, it does not give him the right to look down on the prince. The guy said that he was the king's son and even if he killed the boy right now, no one would dare to say a word. The principal ordered his subjects to teach Clay a lesson. Clay smiled and used his magic to gather a bunch of plants around him. He went towards the prince and his subjects and said that this bunch of fools would not be able to teach him a lesson. The guy said that they can attack him, but he warns in advance that with the help of his mana he can not only throw stones. When the subjects saw the boy's magic, they were scared and told their prince that it was high-level magic. In response to this, the prince laughed and said that there was nothing to be afraid of. He also added that no one dares to do such a thing here and let the queen favor him, the nonsense of the king himself. The prince said he would just kill those mudbloods right now and Clay wouldn't be able to do anything. After that, the prince kicked the girls. Clay shouted to the prince to stop right now, otherwise he would not stand on ceremony with him. The prince laughed and said that the boy could not pretend to him that he was the fifth prince. He also added that the boy would kneel in front of him and beg him to stop, and then maybe he would think about it. One of the subjects said that the boy is so arrogant only because of his magic, and today he is teaching him a good lesson and will teach him to respect the fifth prince. The second guy is that now he will find out which is faster, his arboltum or the boy's magic tricks. The man thought that he had heard that the adults said that the dragon's blood family did not particularly get along with their Shiksin family, and now that their family had this half-wizard, the relationship had become even more strained. The guy decided that today he would get rid of the boy, using as an excuse that it was necessary to protect the fifth prince. The boy decided that his family would definitely appreciate it. Another guy said that no matter how outstanding the boy's magic was, it was too late for him to cast spells. Both guys fired a crossbow. Clay realized that these little assholes really wanted to kill him. They decided that if they did not finish off the wolf, there would be deplorable consequences. The guy thought that then they should not blame him, since they themselves are so inhuman. However, the boy thought that he did not want to cause trouble to his family and aunt. If his victory is so unconditional, it can lead to bad consequences for him. The guy decided that he needed to pretend that one of the arrows had hooked him. Despite the fact that he created a powerful shield around himself that did not miss the arrows, he cracked it, and his shots fell into his hands. The guys began to rejoice that they had hit the boy. However, the boy stood up, pulling the arrows out of his body, and said that the guys were the first to start. After that, he applied the wood spirit technique. Huge vines of plants wrapped around the guys who shot at him. These vines also reached the fifth prince. Someone was shouting and saying that you can't do this to him. Other guys screamed in pain and said that the vines were poisonous. They turned to young Mr. Clay and said that they would never do that again. Suddenly, the boy's mother heard strange screams and ran towards the sound. At this moment, one of the guys who was wrapped around the vine began to ask the boy what it was. In response, the boy asked the guy if he was scared. He reminded the guys that a couple of minutes ago they wanted to kill him. The boy told the guy to relax, because the vines won't do anything to them. The boy added that these plants were not created to kill. At this moment, the boy shouted that now the guys will feel the wrath of thunder. At that moment, the boy's mother came running. She couldn't understand at what point Clay became so strong. The lightning that the boy summoned struck his enemies. At that moment, the boy said that even death would be a small punishment for them. After that, Clay fell to the ground and said that it was still too hard for him to use this technique and that he drew all the spiritual power from it, and it looks like the boy is still very weak. After that, the boy lost consciousness and woke up. His mother stood over him and said that he had lost consciousness and asked the boy if he had really forgotten what he had done. She patted the boy on the head and jokingly said that he was a brat. She said that Clay unknowingly used third-level magic, which is subject only to advanced wizards, and in the eyes of others he is still a beginner. Then she asked the guy about when he learned to use poisons. She said it cost her a lot of effort to pull those children out of the vines and heal their wounds. Hearing this, the boy was surprised that his mother cured those scoundrels. He said that that brat from the Shiksin family wanted to kill him. In response, Mom said that she wanted to cure that boy, but he was struck by lightning. At that moment, Clay realized that the boy had died and his family would have problems. In response, the mother told her son not to worry, even though the princess threw an incredible tantrum, but the boy acted solely in self-defense, so everything should be fine. However, Mom said that Clay is very impulsive in his actions. In response, the boy asked his mother if she thought he shouldn't have gotten involved with the fifth prince. The boy thought to himself that probably due to the fact that in his previous life he himself was in a similar situation, he simply could not sit idly by and not help those two girls. But it seems that something else is more important in this world. However, at that moment, the mother jokingly called the boy a fool and said that he had saved two innocent people. Mom hugged the boy and said that she was more concerned that at the age of 3 he was already using high-level magic. If this continues, she is afraid that Clay may get into trouble. However, she added that the Dragon Blood family will always clean up their traditions, and the fifth prince and the Shiksin family are all complete nonsense. She added that there are influential people in the world who use their position to commit all kinds of lawlessness with impunity. But with the support of the Dragon Blood family, as well as the Elf clan, the boy has nothing to fear. Hugging Mom, the boy thought that it's very nice when he has a mom. The guy thought that as long as he remembers you in a previous life, before meeting with the mentor, he was always lonely. But in this life he will definitely take care of his family. At that moment, my father entered the room. The boy's mother asked him about what the royal family had said and whether everything would be fine. In response, he said that the royal family would not press charges, but they insisted on sealing Clay's magic and he agreed. Clay's mom was horrified. She started yelling at her husband and said that he was crazy for agreeing to such a thing. She also added that she would never make a decision. After that, the man said that the ceremony would be conducted by Grand Master Kara, such is the council's resolution. At that moment, the Grand Master appeared in the room and greeted Lady Elijah. The girl said that her son was only defending himself and also saved 2 people. She asked why, under these conditions, the boy should be punished. She said she did not agree with such a decision. She also added that if the king himself made this decision, then she would take Clay to the elf clan. The girl also added that her son can already use high-level magic and has unique abilities, so she will not allow his magic to be sealed. At that moment, the master approached Mrs. Illy and asked her to calm down. He said that this was not what she thought, and also that this ceremony would benefit the young master. He also added that, as she herself said, the boy has incredible strength, but due to his young age, he cannot fully control her. If such an incident happens again, it will be very difficult to resolve it. The man also added that the council decided to seal only a part of the young master's magical abilities. As he matures, and his ability to control his magic improves, the seal will kill us a little. The young master was not completely banned from using his gift. The girl asked if it was true. In response to this, the man said that he swears by his position and long years of faithful service with General Darl. The boy thought that if he didn't agree to this, then the royal family and the Shixing family would never leave his family alone. The guy also thought that his mana was something other than spiritual Kai power. It will not be difficult for his abilities to break this seal. The boy took his mother's hand and said that he didn't mind. He also added that she always taught him that a man should be responsible for his actions, especially since this seal is not forever. The master said that the boy was very good and praised him. He also added that his magicians will be fine and he cannot worry about it. He must study hard and work on himself, and then he will be able to become an outstanding magician. After some time, the master and the boy entered the temple. The master said that the boy could not go with his parents, but told Clay not to worry because everything would be quick and painless. After that, he said that the boy would only need to lie down on this elevation. In the process, he would be sleepy, so the boy could take a nap. The boy lay down on the stove. After that, 3 magicians stood over him and began to put a seal. Lying on the stove, the boy realized that it turns out to be a kind of magical network that will take away his magical power and will not allow him to use it freely. The boy realized that the magister was not lying. His spiritual energy would really be fine and he would be able to break the seal himself in a few years. Suddenly the guy felt pain and could not understand what was happening. At that moment, SARS said that the previous seal had already come into effect and it was better for the boy not to move, but just stop fighting it. The boy could not understand what was going on and what this man was doing here. After that, SARS said that the boy had wounded the 5th prince and also killed the heir of Shixing. He reminded Claire that he had told him that he would keep an eye on him. The guy thought that this old bastard Shixing was just incredibly cruel. If there were no ordinary magicians there, he would have killed him all the boy. However, he just can't do it. At that moment, Clay was lying unconscious on the bed. His mother screamed at the master and said that he promised something completely different, and now she says that the boy may not wake up. In response to this, the master said that no one wanted this to happen. The king said that Dar has already spoken to the Shixing family and he thinks that soon Elijah will receive a satisfactory answer. At that moment, 2 girls, whom he had saved, were standing near the boy's bed. One girl asked her sister if she thought her brother would be fine. In response, the girl said that Clay is so kind and good, so he will definitely be fine and all they can't do now is pray for him. At that moment, the king began to shout at the girls that it all happened because of the 2 of them. If the boy had not tried to protect them, then nothing would have happened. The king hit the girl hard. After that, he told the boy's mother that if she wants to stir up anger, you can do anything with these 2 girls, since they are the cause of all the troubles. In response to this, the girl said that His Majesty understands like no one else that the girls have nothing to do with it, and although she will protect her child to the end, she will never offend innocent people. At that moment, Clay woke up and started using the breakthrough technique. The boy thought about how he had hoped that he could break the seal completely on the first try, but still he was still too weak. The girl asked the master about what had just happened. In response to this, Kara said that it was simply incredible, because the seal of His Eminence was broken. He asked the boy about how he managed it and said that he had never encountered such a thing. Clay thought that of course the master had never encountered such a thing, because it was all thanks to the Tai Chi cultivation technique. But the boy only said out loud that he also did not know how it happened and said that two beautiful voices brought him out of the darkness. They must have been princesses and he thinks that the girls saved him. After that, the boy turned to his majesty and asked him if he would punish his rescuers. The king replied that of course he would not punish the girls. After that, the mother turned to the master and said that now it was more important to urgently remove the seal from Clay. In response to this, Kara said that he could not do it and asked for forgiveness. He said that this seal can only be destroyed by the youngest Mr. Clay. As soon as his strength reaches the right level, the seal will be destroyed naturally. He also added that what they have now seen is a real miracle. And now the seal has weakened so much that it will allow the master to use third-level magic. The girl got angry and said that it was just burying talent. The magister said that perhaps her mother, the queen of the elves, could help the boy. Clay told mom not to get mad, because it wasn't Kara's fault. He also added that he is still alive, and this is the most important thing and they will not necessarily come up with something. Elijah burst into tears and said that her poor little boy was right. She also said that mommy would definitely come up with something and tomorrow she would take him to the elf clan. The king said that the elf queen would surely be able to remove the seal from Clay. In short, I asked the boy what he wanted to get as compensation for this situation. He said the boy could ask anything. In response, Clay said that he wanted the king to take care of the two princesses who saved him, and also called them to study with Grand Master Kara. The king said that to fulfill his request and now the girls will become princesses and everything will be fulfilled. A few days later, a carriage was prepared for the boy's trip to the elf clan. He was very glad to have at least some opportunity to travel a little, because he was already tired of being constantly in one place. At that moment, the princesses ran up to the young master. They said that they understand that the boy broke the seal not because of them. I am not very grateful to him for saving them, and also added that no one has ever been so kind to them. In response to this, Clay said that it was nothing and you shouldn't thank him. However, the girl took a chick out of the bag and handed it to the boy. It was a small falcon. The girls said that they saved him from the fifth prince that day, and then Clay saved them, so they think the chick should be his. She also said she hoped he could be a loyal companion on Clay's long journey. The boy was very grateful to the girls and said that he would definitely take care of the chick. The boy came up with the name laid for him. After that, the girl with pink hair kissed Clay on the cheek. The boy was embarrassed while the girl asked him to be careful. He told the princesses not to worry, because he would definitely come back and even become stronger. After that, the boy got into the carriage and said goodbye to the girls. They shouted after him that they would be waiting for him. The father, who was sitting in the carriage with the boy, told him that he was a cunning man, still so young, and the girls are already hanging around him. In response to this, the boy said that he did everything as his father taught him, and since he was able to win such a magnificent woman as his mother, he could not lose to him. At that moment, Mom made a remark to the boys. She said it's been a few days since the incident with Clay, and the father is still speechless. She suggested that the man was very upset, and the boys could cheer him up. Clay didn't understand why the man was upset when such a murderous aura emanated from him. The boy suggested that the man was hatching a plan of revenge on the Shixing family, who dared to treat his grandson like that. At that moment, the father recalled one of the soldiers and said that he could return, because these damned people all deserve to die. Suddenly, the guy asked his father about what he was up to and whether he wanted to harm the Shixing family. The girl said that there was a blood alliance between their families and they could not kill each other, and even if they were not on the territory of the kingdom, they would still find out about it. The terms of the union state that they cannot kill each other, and this applies to their family members. But this does not apply to mistresses who were nurtured by this family on the side as well as their illegitimate offspring. The man said that they wanted to get rid of his grandson without even getting to the bottom of the matter, so he would pay blood for blood. He said that if they didn't respond to the Shixing family properly, then their family wouldn't be able to gain respect and take their proper place in society. On top of everything else, he added that the will of the king himself favored this, so nothing threatens the dragon blood family. At that moment, the king was standing in his castle and thought that the incredible aroma of the massacre of the Shixin family was in the air, and the old man turned everything around pretty quickly. The king was thinking that his eminence had been bothering him for so long, and now the time had come when he would teach him a lesson. This time, the king should really be grateful to this little devil from the dragon blood family. The king was thinking that he was already looking forward to their next meeting. Clay in the carriage that was heading to the elf clan was doing soul pairing with Leda. After that, he ordered the bird to fly. The grandfather asked his grandson what he had just done. In response to this, the guy said that he had done a small experiment. He said that even if his powers are sealed, just sitting and waiting is not an option. Third-level magicians should be quite enough to be trained in alchemy. In response to this, the man said that the idea is not bad, but becoming an alchemist is not as easy as it may seem. Suddenly, the old man noticed that the ball he was holding in his hands was broadcasting what was tens of kilometers away from them. He asked his grandson about how he did it. Clay replied that the crystal ball and Lada's eyes were connected by magic, and now the crystal ball broadcasts what the bird sees. He also said that he made some healing potions and apparently mastered the water course of alchemy. The guy thought that fortunately he is not bad at alchemy. It will also help break the seal. Grandpa laughed and hugged his grandson. He said that the boy was just a treasure of their family and a delight for his eyes and ears. The boy's father intervened and said that it was all Elijah's genes, because when it comes to alchemy and magic, no one can compare with the elves. Grandfather said that no one could have thought that not only a wizard, but also a brilliant alchemist was growing up in their family. At that moment, the boy saw a fire in the balloon and told his grandfather and father to order the bunch to stop, because it seems something terrible is happening ahead. The boy's mother looked at the ball and said that in these forests, the battles of magical creatures are a frequent phenomenon, and judging by the magical discharge, these creatures are at least at the 7th level, so they definitely get into trouble if they continue to move in this direction. Mom kissed her son on the forehead and said that thanks to the glue they would be fine. She also added that there was a small town ahead where they would stay overnight and replenish their supplies. The boy thought that staying in the city was a good idea, but his mother made a mistake in something, because all the monsters are not at the 7th level. The boy realized that apparently other people feel this, but the air is literally filled with a murderous aura and these monsters are terrifying creatures of the 9th level. The boy decided that he had felt nothing like this for a very long time. He needed to go and check. At night, when the whole family was asleep, Clay began to summon the primordial basis of the Golden Lotus. The lotus turned out to be very small because of the seal. However, it was enough for Clay to move. The boy thought that Charles's actions, which he imposed on his mother, would last until dawn, and he hoped to have time to return by that time. The boy got to the right place and saw a huge fire. He watched the struggle of the 9-headed Hydra, the owner of the swamp. It was a mid-level 9th rank creature, its 9 heads corresponding to 9 magical elements. Hydra fought against the Earth Bear, the Earth God of War. It was a high-level creature of the 9th rank. Its ability was armor condensation. A special skill was the roar of the King of Beasts. The boy was glad that there were 2 9-ranked creatures right in front of him, about whom he could only read in books. He thought that he wanted to take advantage of the fact that they were weakened. However, even if each of them was on the verge of death, the boy would not be able to defeat them. In the end, the Hydra bit the bear. The boy watched this and thought that it was clearly written in the book that an Earth Bear can condense its armor. The boy did not understand why then the bear allowed himself to be bitten so easily. It turns out that the bear was too young and could not transform armor yet. The guy realized that the bears were about to be gnawed alive and began to think about whether he should help the bear. At this moment, the bear is angry, thinking that some person will climb into his head and bother him. He thought that as soon as he dealt with the Hydra, he would immediately eat a person. In response to this, the guy said that bears that it is to watch the tongue, because a couple more bites and he will die. Clay offered the bear a deal. He would help the bear defeat Hydra, and the bear would become his familiar. In any case, the bear has nothing to lose, because if he loses, he will be able to remove this arrogant person who dared to suggest such a thing. In response to this, the bear growled that no one needed to make deals with the boy and he himself would win this slug. After the Hydra bit the bear again, the boy said that the bears needed to solve something soon, apparently not for long. Bear asked the boy if he really will help him. In response to this, Clay said that of course he would help, but in this case the bear should swear to him, because the boy can't just trust him. After that, the bear said that he was an Earth Bear Gatsapir, swears by the name of Mother Earth that he will become this child's familiar, and will always follow him if he helps him destroy this Hydra. After that, everything was ready and the boy told the bear to call him his master. The bear told the boy that he had better keep his promise, otherwise he would devour him before his death, even with his last breath. After these words, the bear attacked the Hydra. Clay told the bear not to even dream. The boy said that the bear is a stupid clubfoot, because he should just use his roar of the King of Beasts to finish him off. He added that the Hydra will not die until the bear destroys all its heads at the same time. After that, the boy poured some kind of infusion from a bottle over the bear. The bear noticed that his wounds were healing faster, but besides that, his mana was getting more powerful by the second. Suddenly, an armor appeared on the bear and he, calling the Hydra a vile slug, told him to prepare for death. The bear used his roar of the king of beasts. With this, he killed all the Hydra heads at the same time. After that, he turned to the boy and asked him about what he had given him. Clay replied that it was just a strengthening remedy, and for lack of time and materials, it was the best thing he could do. But Clay was outraged that the bear called him a boy and said he was a stupid clubfoot. At first the bear got angry, but then he bowed down to Clay and called him master. He said that he would serve him faithfully all his life. The boy replied that it was better that way, and it turns out that Clubfoot is not so stupid. In response to this, the bear got angry and said that his name was Gatsapir and not Stupid Clubfoot, and he would never accept this nickname. In response to this, Clay agreed with the bear, but said that his name was too long and therefore he would be Pippi. Then the boy said that with the size of the bear it would be a little problematic to take it with him, and asked the bear if anything could be done about it. The bear smiled and turned into a little teddy bear. Clay was delighted, took him in his arms and said that it was better that way. The dawn was already slowly visible, and therefore they had to hurry, otherwise if the boy's mother wakes up earlier, but he will not be satisfied. The guy stood on his lotus and wanted to fly home, but he fell to the ground. Clay began to say that the bear was too heavy, and he replied that in fact it was his mana that was too weak and he should not have accepted such a dumbass as the owner at all. Clay told the bear to go back to his previous size and take him, and as soon as they get out of the forest, he will turn into a baby again. Otherwise only all the people in the city will scare away. The bear agreed. Suddenly, a large green crystal appeared above the snake. Clay asked about what it was. The bear said that this is the magical core of this slug. If you use it, the power of mana will increase significantly. However, Hydra is an aquatic creature on top of everything. Now the boy is the bear's owner and it's up to him what to do with him. Clay thought that the crystal was big and would be useful in alchemy, but unfortunately it was too noticeable, and they could not take it with them. For now, they decided to leave him here and think about it later, but in the meantime, he needs to go back. At that moment, Elijah woke up and could not find her child. She cried and said that they fell asleep together, but she didn't notice at all how he left and said that she was a terrible mother. Her husband calmed her down and told her not to worry and Clay would be fine. He had already ordered his people to start searching. At that moment, Clay appeared in the room holding a bear in his hands and asked his mom and dad about what they were doing here. The parents were very happy that their son was all right and asked him about where he had been. They started touching the bear and asking if he really brought a doggy. The boy replied that it was a bear cub. Clay said he heard a sound, so he ran to help. The poor thing got lost in the woods. Then he said that they had made a deal and asked his parents if he could go with them. The boy's mother replied that as a magician, of course, he can enter into contracts with magical animals, but no one will allow him to run away at night anymore. Clay was glad that he was allowed to keep the bear. Suddenly, Elijah had a headache. The husband saw this and told his wife that she had been looking for Clay since the morning and they had better stay in this place for another day to buy everything they needed for the road. The girl replied that she was fine, but they really should replenish their supplies. The boy intervened and said that on the way he had not seen a single cart with something like this and for sure everyone here uses local resources. In response, my mother said that such a large number of people could not rely solely on mountain vegetation, and pointing to her ring said that all the supplies were here. It was an elven spatial ring. There would be enough space inside to hide a small town. Clay thought that with such a ring, the issue of transporting the body and the magic core of the Hydra would be solved. Moreover, a fortune was usually hidden in the lairs of such creatures, and Clay would become incredibly rich. The boy asked his mother that if someone finds a treasure outside the city, can he just take them for himself? Mom replied that of course she could and asked Clay why he was asking. The boy replied that Leda had found the corpse of a 9-headed Hydra and he thought it might be useful. The girl was very surprised by this and asked the boy if he was telling the truth. Clay replied that it was true, because they almost ran into 2 monsters yesterday, and she must have lost in that fight. The boy asked his mother if he could take her for himself and if she would help him. The girl replied that the find was really incredible and it was not surprising that Clay wanted to take possession of her. She also said that Hydra's corpse is quite massive and therefore the boy needs her ring. Mom replied that if the boy gives her half, she agrees. Clay jokingly said that she was a cheat and whoever found her took the Hydra. In response, Elijah said that no one forced him to ask her for help and laughed. As a result, they went light and headed to the elven forest on a unicorn. The boy thought that his mother turned out to be mercantile. Mom asked the boy Tom if he was still mad at her and asked him why such a little boy needed such great wealth. Clay replied that he wanted to become an outstanding alchemist, and these are precious materials. The girl replied that even in this case, half would be more than enough for the first time. Moreover, if the boy needed anything in the future, his family and the elf clan would give him every support, and the boy would worry about nothing. The boy agreed with his mother and said that in this case he would be the first to choose what exactly he would get. To himself, the boy thought that his mother clearly did not need these riches for a stash. A few minutes later, they arrived at the elven forest. After that, they found the corpse of a huge 9-headed hydra. The knights who examined the corpse said that the hydra is very huge, so also the 9th rank in person. The second knight replied that he had never seen anything more impressive in his life. Elijah shouted that they should take off the skin and divide it, and that not a single drop of blood should be spilled, because it is priceless. She ordered the second delight to search the area and find the hydra's lair. One of the subjects said that the hydra's lair would surely be skillfully hidden from prying eyes, and even if they threw all their strength into searching for it, it could take not only days, but months. The girl thought that this was indeed the case, but she was not ready to give up such treasures either. The boy told his mother to leave it to him and added that Pippi said he knew where her lair was and could not bring everyone there. At that moment, Pippi turned into a big bear. A few minutes later they came to the hydra's lair. One of the knights looked at the riches and said that he had never seen so many treasures in his life. There were top quality weapons, magic cores and crystals. Clay and the bear also went down to the den. He thought about the fact that the unfortunate people did not see anything at all in this world. The bear asked the boy if he was going to look, because the den looks pretty good. The boy replied that the lair looks really big, but he needs something special. After a few seconds of searching, Clay found what he was looking for. He said that as soon as he entered the cave, he immediately felt this powerful aura of the most valuable treasure among everything available here. He also found the shield and said that it was not bad, because the magic core of the Devil Flame Lion of the 8th rank was used in the process of its production. But what the boy was talking about was a ring. He took it off the skeleton's finger and said that an aura identical to his mother's ring emanated from this ring, and perhaps it was also a spatial treasure. Putting the ring on his hand, the guy saw a sword and a book in front of him. This book was a diary owned by Greenspan Dale. At that moment, Mom appeared next to the boy. She said that Greenspan Dale was the greatest alchemist of all mankind and he had no equal in forging weapons. She said that this sword is the personification of power, grace and speed, and that Clay has found a real treasure. In response, the boy said that he did not agree with his mother because this diary of the greatest alchemist is actually a treasure. Clay thinks it will greatly simplify his path to becoming an outstanding alchemist. The boy thought that he had already begun to worry about the lack of sensible works on alchemy, and after a while, the girl said that after everything was ready, it was necessary to inform all the detachments that they were returning. The boy asked his mother if she wanted to give everything to her grandmother and not keep it for herself. Mom replied that this was not quite true. She said it was for the Empress of the Embodied Elementals. In response to this, the boy asked if his grandmother was not the Empress. Mom replied that elemental elves are much more powerful than ordinary elves. They are similar, but different. The girl also added that perhaps the Empress of the Incarnate Elementals could help Clay. The boy realized that from the very beginning, his mother did everything for him, and he thought it was for some selfish reasons. Clay told Mom that he assured her that the seal would be broken very soon. In response to this, the girl replied that she believed in him. The boy thought that for the sake of his mother and for the sake of himself, he should deal with this problem as soon as possible. A few days later, a carriage finally arrived in the Elven Valley. All the courtiers rejoiced that the princess had finally returned to the place with His Majesty, and everyone welcomed the princess. The boy told his mother that the city of elves is so beautiful, if only his father and grandfather could be taken off now, they would also be delighted. Mom replied that they had urgent business in the kingdom and they were forced to return. Moreover, both father and grandfather have been here before. After Elijah and Clay got out of the carriage, they were greeted by the Empress. She was very happy about the arrival of her daughter and said that she missed her very much. They hugged and the girl said that she also missed her mother very much. The girl told Clay to say hello to his grandmother. The girl was very happy with her youngest grandson and said that he was the son. The boy was surprised that his grandmother was so young, and said that she looked more like his mother's sister. The woman took the child in her arms and said that her little granddaughter was so pretty. She said that she was really his grandmother and asked him to let her kiss his sweet cheeks. After some time, already being in the palace, the grandmother examined her grandson. The girl began to ask her mother about what was wrong with her son. She began to shout that the cursed prelate did not dare to do such things with the child and said to immediately inform the father that she was extremely dissatisfied with what had happened and demanded an explanation. The subjects immediately went to carry out the order. The Empress added that if he was ignored or tried to mess with her brains, she would personally deal with him. The boy thought that his grandmother was trying her best to restrain herself, but he still felt an incredibly oppressive murderous aura that emanated from her. For ordinary people it was like death. The boy wondered if this was the true power of the mistress of the 5 great ones. Grandma said that everything is much more complicated than it might seem at first glance. Apparently, you can't do without the help of the Empress of Incarnate Elementals here. However, she added that it is not necessary to give up ahead of time and she will do everything possible. She also said that in the worst-case scenario, she would still be able to teach her grandson everything she knows about the field of alchemy. The boy thanked his grandmother. He said that he had just felt powerful streams of energy emanating from her. He also added that he really couldn't imagine that there was anyone who could be more powerful than her. Grandmother replied that she could use magic of the 12th level and the Empress of Incarnate Elementals of the 15th, which in many ways surpasses her magic. The boy was very surprised by what he heard. He said that the magic of the 12th level itself is the end point in the development of magical skills, and he does not understand how to use magic of the 15th level. In response to this, Grandma said that Clay was a pretty smart boy. She also added that this is all because elemental elves, like dragons, are not classified as people, so the 12th level is not a chapel for them. The Empress of the Embodied Elementals is equal to the gods in her power, so she should know what can be done in this situation. Mom turned to the boy and told him to rest a little and not worry about anything, and she and her grandmother still have some things to do. After that, they left the room. The bear asked the boy if he was upset. The boy replied that, as expected, this seal is incredibly powerful. He just realized that he still knew very little about this world and that he mistakenly believed that there was no more powerful magic than level 12 magic. In response to this, the bear said that in this case the boy is really a fool. He also added that even though magic of the 15th level is quite rare, but there are not so few people who use magic of the 12th level, and almost all adult dragons are more than able to do it. The boy said that he had never seen dragons before, and the bear, who had been tumbling in the swamp all day, could not see them either. In response, the bear said that among his friends there are dragons. One of them, a green dragon, lives on a snow-covered mountain, which is located on the outskirts of the elven forests. The boy asked the bear there if he really knew this dragon. He also said that he had heard that every dragon guards a treasure and asked the bear if this was really the case. Clay begged the bear to show him this place and take him with him. The bear exhaled and said that he was afraid that it was impossible. The boy asked the bear what he meant. He replied that he had agreed with the dragon that he would return to her only when he became powerful enough to use the spatial gate. Bear said he's been working hard on this for several years, but it's still not enough. In response to this, the boy said that he had developed a spiritual pill specifically to increase the magical power of the earth element, and handed it to the bear so that he could try it. The bear took the pill in his hands and felt the flows of the primordial magic of the earth. The bear also thought that following this boy wasn't such a bad idea. The bear ate the pill and now the spatial gate has become open. Suddenly, a portal appeared. The bear and the boy were on a snow-covered mountain. Clay asked the bear if he wanted to kill him here and thereby break their contract. The boy also said that if the Taiji magic protection had been used, he would have turned into an icicle a long time ago, and how could a dragon live in such a place at all? The bear shouted at the boy and told him to stop blaming him, because he told him that it was a snow-covered mountain. A dragon named Christina lives in a cave and she has not yet reached adulthood, like a bear. She lives in this place in order to improve her abilities. The boy and the bear went into the cave. The beast shouted that he was a Hatsapir and came to check on her. In response, the dragon asked her dear friend Gussie about why he looks like that. Then she asked about who the person next to him was and assumed that the bear had brought a treat for her. The bear replied that the boy could not be eaten, because they were bound by a contract and now he was his master. The bear also said that at his age the boy was already a very good alchemist. Thanks to his pill, he managed to open a portal and move to the dragon. The boy held out his hand to Christina and said that he was pleased to meet her, and also introduced himself that his name was Clay. The boy thought that the dragon was incredibly large, and the bear said that she was still a child by the standards of magical creatures. In response to this, Christina said in a sweet voice that the bear should have told her about it right away, and he only scared her. The dragon said that, apparently, Clay and Gussie are on good terms, and in this case, the boy is now her friend too. She said that she has one single rule: do not touch her treasure. Christina said she liked the boys so he could call her Tina. The girl asked the boy what the purpose of his visit was. The bear answered for the boy, and said that Clay was very curious and he just wanted to see a real dragon. The bear asked the girl to tell the boy about Dragon Island. The dragon said that she had not been there for a long time and nostalgia was even rolling over her. She said that it was very warm and calm there, and also a lot of delicious fish. She also added that about 2,000 people like her live there. However, she said that the dragon has a strict hierarchy that is based on strength. Since this dragon's parents died, she lost her sanctuary. For this reason, she had to move to the mountains, to this cold climate, in order to become stronger. Christina asked Clay why he was helping the bear improve. She also added that she might be forcing things too much, but she would like to ask the boy to help her too. Seeing how the guy hesitated, the girl told him not to worry, because she would surely generously reward him for his help, only if he did not touch her treasures. The boy said he just wanted to ask about the dragon's abilities. The girl replied that her element was water. The guy said he had something. He pulled out a water energy pill from his pocket. He said he only had one, but it should help. The boy thought that he was very glad that he had the opportunity to help her. Otherwise, he was already beginning to worry that he did not know how to establish relations with dragons. Christina said that she feels like she is filled with the purest energy of water. After she took the pill, she thanked the boy. As her gratitude, she gave Clay her scales, on which she cast a teleportation spell. Now, when the guy faces any difficulties in the future, he will simply crush her in his hands and Tina will immediately appear to help him. The boy thanked Tina and said that he would treasure the scale. The girl said that she really likes Clay and if she didn't have to stay in the mountains to improve, she would have followed him. It seemed to the bear that Clay was flirting with the dragon and this made him a little angry. Returning to the room, the guy happily talked about seeing a dragon for the first time in his life and she was really incredible. He also added that he hopes to visit Dragon Island someday. At that moment, Grandma came into the room and said that she had just been to the Empress of Incarnate Elementals and unfortunately even she could not help. She said that apparently the guy would have to deal with her himself. However, she promised her grandmother so much that as soon as Clay grows up a little, she will allow him to sign a contract with one of the powerful elemental elves, and this is an incredible opportunity. The boy replied that there was nothing wrong with that, and in fact, he wanted to break the seal as soon as possible and stuff the muzzle of that right Reverend Shixon, because his father always said that a man should cope with his own problems. Grandma said that her mom had told her that Clay wanted to become an outstanding alchemist. She also said that the boy is quite talented in this matter. Clay replied that he didn't know if he was talented, but he really wanted to learn alchemy. In response to this, the grandmother said that from today she would teach him and teach the boy High Elven alchemy. Grandma said that if her grandson can't become a great wizard, then she will make sure that he becomes the most powerful alchemist on the entire continent. After that, the boy and his grandmother went to the Hall of Alchemy of the Imperial Family of Elves. It contains scrolls, magical artifacts, weapons, and potions. All this is somehow connected with alchemy. The grandmother said that in the future her grandson would have a lot of work, and that she would teach him everything. The boy thought that of course he would study it all. In conjunction with Greenspendale's diary, which he found then in the Hydra's lair, very soon everyone on the continent will know his name. Suddenly, they came to some kind of artifact. The guy asked his grandmother about what it was. She replied that this is what their clan has been trying to figure out for centuries, the blessing of the god of sorcery. This is the lost weapon of the elf god, a magic wand that generates elemental magic. The Empress of the Incarnate Elementals personally commissioned this case, but for hundreds of years they have no discoveries or leads. The amount of the reward was repeatedly increased. Even an announcement was made that whoever could create it would receive the loyalty of 10,000 elf warriors for a 10-year period. However, nothing happened. The boy asked his grandmother that if he could create the same wand for the Empress of Incarnate Elementals, would he be able to receive this award? The grandmother replied that the boy would certainly receive this award. But in order to create a weapon identical to the blessing of the god of sorcery, the boy needs to possess 5 elements at the same time. Even the most outstanding alchemist takes about 10 years to hone the possession of or 2 elements out of 5. Leaving the hall, the boy said that he was sure that he would be able to control all 5 elements in 5 years. The boy set himself the goal that if he wants to become the strongest alchemist, then he should even receive the blessing of the god of sorcery. 3 goals later, the boy was racing somewhere on his bear. Clay shouted that they were about to experience the power of his new creation. The boy cut the air with his sword and a strong blow came out of it. The subjects began to congratulate the young gentleman on the creation of another first-class weapon. It can release both elements at the same time, both wind and water. It just didn't fit in my head that Clay could achieve such results in just 3 years of studying alchemy. The boy said it was still not enough. Clay has integrated some Taoist practices with basic alchemical processes, so refining and upgrading weapons is relatively easy, but he can't do the same with magic. And because of this, he does not submit to 3 elements at once. Suddenly, the knight remembered that the empress was looking for a young master. Clay hurried to his grandmother. Suddenly, running past that very artifact, he stopped. The boy could not understand how the blessing of the god of sorcery managed to maintain balance and release the power of the 5 elements. The boy has been trying to deal with this for more than 3 years, and nothing has ever made him feel so helpless. The boy also wondered what method was used to create this artifact. Clay was already beginning to doubt whether this thing even existed. At that moment, his grandmother appeared behind him and said that the blessing of the god of sorcery really exists. She reproached the boys for staring at that scroll again. In response to this, the boy said that he was just curious. He also added that when he finishes his studies here, he will definitely find it and study it thoroughly in order to create an even more outstanding weapon. The grandmother said that she was sure that the boy would succeed. After that, she said that in fact, the boy would leave this city very soon and that Elijah was already going. Clay was surprised by this news and asked his grandmother about why. She said he was leaving town because she had nothing else to teach him. She also added that her grandson turned out to be a much more capable boy than she could have imagined. Now Clay's abilities surpass the abilities of first-class alchemists, and now he needs to move on. Clay has already reached the age when he can study at the School of Witchcraft, and she can't keep him in this city. Also, that old man Reno, Clay's grandfather, keeps sending Grandma annoying messages that he misses his grandson. Grandma kissed Clay on the forehead and said that the elf clan blesses him. She also added that she was looking forward to the day when he would become the best alchemist in the whole world and be able to break the seal. So, the boy is heading to the Storm Kingdom. During this time he really missed his grandfather, dad and aunt. He also thought that he had unfinished business with His Eminence Shiksen. At this moment, in the Kingdom of Storm, the training ground of the royal palace was being trained by the 3rd prince named Losa. He still couldn't kill the big bear. His Eminence Shiksen shouted at the boy that he was still not even able to create 3rd level magic and called him a disgrace. After so many years of persistent practice, the boy is still so weak, and here the brat from the dragon blood family, as His Eminence called Clay, could apply a similar technique 3 years ago. In response, the prince said that he would stop talking about him all the time and asked what was so special about him. He said Clay was just trash whose magic was sealed. He also added that as soon as he meets the boy, he will tear him to shreds. In response to this, the man said that the boy was incredibly lucky since he had just received information from a reliable source that Clay was returning to the city tomorrow. As he was leaving, he said that if the prince wanted to kill him, then he had to do it before he got to the city. The man urged the boy to show him what he is capable of and not to be fooled. After that, the prince ordered his subordinate to pack his travel bag so that he would go out of town. At that moment, the boy was riding his bear and said that they were already closed and should have time to enter the city tomorrow. In response, the bear said that it was very troublesome if he turned into a bear cub. He could be there today. In response to this, the guy asked the bear about whether there was not a drop of team spirit in him. At that moment, the boy heard some screams. He saw 2 guys taking away a little girl's bag. Clay was sure that it was Zion-Er's voice. The boy shouted to the guys that they, 2 grown men, should be ashamed of terrorizing a little girl. In response to this, the guys said that they would not be afraid of the bear on which the boy was sitting and advised him to get out. The boy got off the bear and said he didn't need any trouble, so he would pay them instead. The guys laughed and said that this girl owed them 100 gold pieces. In response to this, she shouted that he was a crook and she took only 3 from the guys. The boy thought that there are not so few disgusting people in this world, but you can't fool him so easily. He agreed and said he would give 100 gold pieces. The guy threw a bag of money into the bear's mouth and told him to give the guys the 3 gold pieces they rightfully deserved and another 97 with interest. He also told the bear not to forget to make sure that they properly accepted their money. The bear growled and scared the guys so much that they started shouting that they didn't need anything and ran off into the woods. The boy asked the girl if she was alright and said that the guys would not bother her anymore. The girl thanked the boy and said that she had borrowed only 3 gold pieces from those guys because her mother was seriously ill and needed medication. The girl said that she did not expect everything to turn out like this. The girl said her name was Senia and asked the name of her savior. The boy thought that initially he assumed that this was the reincarnation of Zion-Er, but now, after studying the spiritual component of the girl, he realized that this was not the case. The boy said his name was Clay. The boy also added that he has an excellent doctor who could help the girl's mother. At that moment, a big black dog with bat-like wings appeared. He was told to bring Clay to the gorge on the outskirts. As a result, the dog took the money. The boy decided that he belonged to those two types and told Pippi that they should have treated them harder. The boy told Xenia that he would return the stolen goods, and she should find her mother and tell her about it. The cart must be somewhere nearby. The boy ordered Pippi to stay with the girl and protect her. The boy was running after an incomprehensible dog. At that time, the prince and the subject were standing in the gorge. They were waiting for Clay to kill him. Everything had to look as if the boy had been attacked by bandits and they should not give themselves away inadvertently. Seeing the prince with a bunch of knights, Clay immediately understood what was going on. He began to ask them about who sent them. They replied that no one sent them and they are bandits. In response to this, the boy said that bandits do not wear knight's armor. The knights replied that it didn't matter because the guy was going to die anyway. The boy concluded that the master of the knights was really afraid of him, since he had sent level 4 magicians. However, for Clay, the alchemist magician, this squad did not pose any danger. The boy thought that his mother was waiting for him and he should finish here as soon as possible. Clay summoned a 5th level alchemical artifact called the Elemental Scroll. An icy rain rained down on his enemies. Immediately after that, a fiery snake appeared. The knights did not expect such abilities at all from a child whose power, on top of everything else, was sealed. Clay said that knights should not underestimate children in the next life, otherwise, who knows what it might lead to. As a result, the boy burned the whole squad. The prince, who was watching all this, could not understand how Clay could be so strong. Suddenly, the boy heard a crash and noticed the one who directed the whole squad at him.